Welcome back to another episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy Will Royal. How you doing today, Will?
I'm feeling great today, Bryson. You know why?
Why?
It's bowl season eve.
It's
Starting tomorrow,
season.
we have, what do we say, 40, 41 bowl games this year?
Just know there's a lot because there are always like 8,000 bowl games for some reason.
Yeah, and everyone except Texas A&M are in one.
Let's get it. Yeah, we were just talking about a few bowls, and Will just mentioned Miami. I'm like, Miami who? Because
Miami of
Miami,
Ohio.
Miami, Florida's trash.
They are. And they just landed a top recruit today. I'm just going to throw that out.
I don't know how, but well, they're about to renovate. Yeah, money and renovations and all the stuff that they're about to get coming to that school. Cristobal should be in good hands if he lasts that long, honestly. But it is bowl season, Will, and we're going to start off with the Rose Bowl between Penn State and Utah, number 11 versus number 8. Utah is a 2.5 point favorite, and they just won the Pac-12 championship a few weeks ago. Penn State is number 3 when it comes to the Big Ten overall wise, and just their year they had this year. And honestly, for this one, um, this is really a kind of hard one to pick. This is probably one of the hardest ones, in my opinion, to pick, just because how good Penn State's looked against other teams that's not named Ohio State and Michigan. And Utah just won a huge a huge game against USC, who really looked like one of the teams that were going to make the playoffs throughout the year. But they ended up beating USC for the second time in the Pac-12 championship. Your boy Cam Rising shown that he's a great quarterback. And what is this his last year, Will?
I believe so. I think he was a sophomore last year, if I wasn't mistaken.
All right, so I honestly think he probably come back.
Yeah,
He's not
there's
on.
a really good draft pool in terms of quarterback. So
But hey, I just saw something that popped up on my phone. Well, I was scrolling through Instagram before we did our like pre-podcast thing. They're anonymous NFL scouts saying next year quarterback draft will be like 10 times better than this one compared to Caleb Williams and Drake May for next year. So honestly, Cam Rising could be in that conversation if he stays another year. And there's a lot of quarterbacks coming back, like KJ Jefferson from Arkansas. You have Devin Leary, depending on where he ends up. If Spencer
same
Rattler has
thing.
it, yeah, if Spencer Rattler lives up to the hype, because they just basically got a whole new coaching staff. With they have
You're gonna have Quinn Ewers. You're gonna have Spencer Sanders wherever he ends up. You're gonna have Will Rogers. Realistically, there could be a good QB class, and you could have these unsung heroes of freshmen and backups.
yeah. So who knows? For this one, shoot, I still don't know. Will I'm gonna go with Utah. I'm gonna go with Utah for this one, honestly.
Yeah, that's the same path I was going down, just because like they were my dark horse team at the beginning. I had them in the playoffs when we did our season predictions all the way back in August, and like just how you said, like Cam Rising, he was my quarterback to ride with. That wasn't Alabama. So, and you look at last year, and if you remember last year's Rose Bowl when Utah played Ohio State, that was a fun game
Oh
of
yeah,
just
it
back and
was.
forth offense. I think we can see something kind of similar with this, but I think Utah is using last year as that momentum of get overing the hump and Kyle Winningham, finally getting his chance to win the Rose Bowl and bringing in those recruits and with USC, UCLA leaving in the future, just using that to get to um that leverage they won, and so I'm taking Utah.
Yeah, Utah and Sean Clifford's 8,000th game played in college football. This should be well, it's definitely his last college football game. Who knows what he does if he even makes it to the pros? But who knows? We could see him in the pros.
Yeah.
Some more surprising things have happened. Well, I'm gonna let you go with this next one because it is your team.
Yeah. Well, This is the Sugar Bowl on New Year's early morning. Number 5, my Crimson Tide taking on the Big 12 champions, Kansas State. Bama is currently a 2.5 point favorite, but that could change depending on if Bryce and Will decide to play in this game, or they're just going to sit out and declare for the NFL draft. But as of now, that hasn't happened yet. I'm probably expecting an announcement within the next week. But it's me. Like, it's going to be Alabama all the way. Will it be close depending on who is playing and if the butt chin is still making plays?
Yeah.
Because with Bryce, I think it's doable. If we have Jalen Miller or Ty Simpson, it's going to be a little more of a challenge. Kind of like what we saw with it was with Tennessee, or no, not Tennessee, Texas A&M, where we didn't have Bryce and Jalen Miller struggled with, struggling A&M team. So, but I'm still going to take Bam. And I realized I wrote my name down in my prediction, so I'm going to change that. There we go. But yeah, I'm taking Alabama. No question.
Yeah, I might have to go with you just because it's Alabama. They've been fighting all year to make it to the playoffs, came short this year. The quarterback situation is kind of a problem just because what you said, Jalen Milroe did struggle with Texas A&M, and we've seen what happened to Texas A&M. They're completely trash, even though they have some decent games that they've won. But Kansas State, I'm not really sold on them 100%, even though they just beat TCU in the Big 12 championship. And what's their quarterback name? Spot 'em got 'em. Is that what his name is? I
I
know.
don't know. Will
I
Howard.
know it's Deuce Vaughn. Well, I know they're running back.
Oh,
I
Deuce
just,
Vaughn.
I just, for some reason, Deuce Vaughn looks like Spot 'em got 'em with a low cut and no face tats. I don't know
Yo.
why. Have I ever showed you that picture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they literally look alike, and it's crazy. But Deuce Vaughn, he's shown that he's a really good running back. Honestly, he could be in the Heisman talk next year if I'm pretty sure he's eligible for the draft if he doesn't jump in. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go Alabama, even though they are a 2.5 point favorite in Sugar Bowl. And what Alabama is, when was the last time they lost a bowl game? That wasn't
Uh,
like the
not. Are you talking about including a
no,
championship?
not no championships because that's not a bowl game.
Um, 2014 Sugar Bowl when they lost to
Yeah,
Ohio State in the first playoffs.
yeah. So yeah, they lost. Literally, that feels like it's almost 10 years ago. It's 8 years. So I'm gonna take Alabama, even though a lot of their players have been jumping in the portal, looking like they might go to Colorado to join Mr. Sanders in Boulder. So yeah, I'm gonna go Alabama for this
The only
one.
one we really lost is Tyler Bowles, who's went back to his home state, Kentucky. So, but there's still, players in there.
Speaking of Kentucky, I've been seeing a lot about Will Levis. I did send you a a little graphic. I'm pretty sure it was ESPN or something like that. Will
Mhm.
Levis did drop in that graphic I sent you, but a lot of people are asking, is he a first round pick? Like in the eyes of people who just watch SEC football, is he a first round pick?
I don't really see it. Experts are having him as a top 10 quarterback to somewhere like Carolina or Washington. I just don't see it in the slightest. I mean, yes, he has potential, and you give him the right weapons, he could ball out. But for right now, I'm putting them behind Bryce and CJ, at least for now.
Yeah.
Depending on what we could see in combines and pro days and all that stuff. When we get to close to the draft time, I'll make a better judgment. But for right now, I'm saying he has first round quality, but not top 10, top half quality.
Yeah, a lot of people had him going above CJ Stroud or Bryce, depending on who you want to take first.
Yeah.
But honestly, he people say he has the arm talent. I hadn't just like looked at him, but just stats wise, he doesn't jump off the page, or just watching him, he doesn't look like that guy who I would trust with my franchise, and that's what GMs are discussing now. Like, is Will Levis this guy that we want to give our franchise to for potentially like 3 years because most times they give you like 3 years to see if you're going to
Yeah,
amount to anything or end up like Jamarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf and become a complete bust.
yeah.
Well, I honestly think he might end up like that or Chosen Rosen.
I was about to say Josh Rosen probably a better chance.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to this next one. This is the group of five best team versus a top power five team. You got the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas at Jerry's World. You have number 10 USC, who's a 2 point favorite over number 16 Tulane. Even though USC lost the Pac-12 and what's his name? I don't know why. Yeah, just blanked on his name. Caleb Williams just won the Heisman. Caleb Williams is literally a cheat code. He is a glitch in the system, and there's no way I'm not picking USC. I don't care how good Tulane has looked this year. USC is definitely my pick. And hey, Jack, I know you're watching this. I have to roll with you, buddy.
Yeah, this one for me is kind of a no-brainer as well. Like you're talking about a Heisman Trophy winner. Yes, they are a 2 point favorite, but it's still Caleb Williams versus Jordan Addison, or it's basically Tulane versus Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, and a Lincoln Riley system. It's not going to be even close. So as much as I would love to see Tulane, because think about 3 years ago, this was Memphis in this situation. They were that group of five team playing in the Cotton Bowl and ended up losing to Micah Parsons and Penn State. But I think kind of the feel good story ends here with. I'm not going to say it's like Memphis where we did lose Norvell. I don't think Willie Fritz is going to leave just yet, but he definitely is putting himself in that good position for a good Power Five school next year.
Yeah. Well, there are still Power Five job openings left. So, well,
Who's still open?
oh no, Power Fives. No, I actually lied. There are just job openings in general left.
Yeah, but he's waiting for that Power Five, and I think give it a year, maybe to someone like I don't know, Vandy, maybe.
Vandy is like the worst job to take if a Power Five. You take Vandy just to get like put that on the resume that you've coached Power Five. But other
No,
than
I
that,
mean they're definitely in the right direction now. They went 5-7, and I think Clark Lee's doing a good job. Give it maybe another year or two. In terms of that, maybe I don't even know what Power Five will be open next year. It's so hard to determine a year out. But I'm just gonna throw it. I'm gonna say Mac Jones is gonna retire and Willie Pitt's gonna take the UNC job next year. That is my hot take for the new year.
yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So, Will, let's go to this next one, the Orange Bowl. Literally,
Literally the orange. Six Tennessee versus seven Clemson. A Clemson team that did win the ACC, but at what cost? They lost to in-state rivals South Carolina to basically lose it. Both of them are without their starting quarterbacks from the beginning of the year. Hendon Hooker is out injured. DJ is in the portal. So they're going to be relying on two separate quarterbacks. But I still think this is going to be the game where Clemson is going to use like those players that earned in the draft, like Brian Brezzi, and just like use that to have his stock draft go up. So I'm taking Clemson in this one. Is it partially just because of what Tennessee did to Alabama? Kind of. But I still think, I'm still not saying Tennessee's a bad team. I think Josh Heupel has done a really good job. Tennessee turning them around. But it's Dabo Sweeney. You can't really beat him in postseason unless you're Nick Saban or who is it? Or Kirby Smart or Ryan Day. Actually, Ryan Day, we can kind of throw out. He was born on third base.
I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. But I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I think Josh Heupel has shown that he is a really good coach, potentially national championship winner. We will see in the next few years. Joe Milton is a seasoned quarterback. He's shown that he's a pretty decent quarterback as a backup. Hendon Hooker, he won't be playing. I'm pretty sure he's played his last college football game, and
It was an ACL tear. He was done after South Carolina.
Yeah, so yeah, he's definitely played his last college football game, and he will most likely be entering the draft pretty soon. So I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee, even though Jalen Hyatt did declare for the draft. I feel like they still have the weapons. Clemson, they've choked against SEC teams that we have just talked about, even though it was a rivalry game. And Tennessee definitely got smacked by the same SEC team, but Hendon Hooker did get injured that game, so that could have been a total shift in the momentum for Tennessee in that game. And I actually believe in Joe Milton being able to take down Clemson and win the Orange Bowl. So I'm gonna have to go with Tennessee. Also, we hadn't talked about this podcast, but a great coach passed away, and Mike Leach, who actually coached Josh Heupel when he was at Oklahoma. I was watching, I forgot what I was watching. I think it was like on Instagram, but it was a story about how when he was coaching at Oklahoma as the offensive coordinator, Mike Leach made a fake gameplay sheet
Yep.
and gave it to Texas, one of their GAs, and they actually fell for it. And literally, I think it was like second play of the game. Josh Heupel threw a touchdown pass to a wide open Oklahoma receiver. So it's another great story is by Mike Leach.
Yeah. And obviously being 80 miles south of Starkville and working at a news station that's kind of centralized around Mississippi State. We obviously have seen a lot of tributes to him, and they did announce his full-time replacement, Zach Arnett, who was announced just to be the interim coach for their bowl game, and we'll talk about their bowl game later in the episode. But very rarely do you see a head coach pass away during his tenure. Usually, and regardless of if it's top of the top cream of the crop or like a small D2 D3 school.
Yeah,
And I don't think I've really seen like a much like I don't know really know what the word is, but like much coverage of it. But like maybe the last great coach to really die was Joe Paterno. That was about 10 years ago.
yeah,
But that was right in the middle of the whole Jerry Sandusky scandals. This is completely different. This
yeah.
was just you wake up one day, you read in the news, Mike Leach taken to the hospital with heart condition,
It kind of
and
reminds me of what's that movie? Marshall. You know what movie I'm talking about?
there are
Um,
more.
yeah, when the whole plane crash. It was more tragic than how Joe Paterno. His was tragic, but he died in a huge scandal that really put a blemish on his career or
Yeah,
his legacy.
this was maybe
I
like a
feel like,
month after he stepped down as Penn State's coach after being there for over 40 years.
yeah. So this one kind of reminds me of that situation in Marshall, West Virginia, where literally the entire team died in a plane crash,
Yeah.
other than like a few who were injured or just didn't take the plane. But yeah, so this is just like really sad to see. Um, we did make a little. The thumbnail for the last video was Mike Leach, and I put a 5 second moment of silence at the beginning of last episode. So if you didn't watch it, it's there on YouTube. So yeah,
Yeah. And obviously prayers out to his family. This is, something hard to see. And I hope we never see something like this anytime soon.
yeah, for sure. Let's go to the next one. The next bowl game is the Peach Bowl or the first college football playoff bowl that we have on here. It is the Peach Bowl with number 4 Ohio State versus number 1 Georgia, and it's pretty clear to me who I'm taking. I don't know you will, but I'm going to have to ride with the SEC on this one. Georgia is a 7.5 point favorite, and they have been dominant all year against every team that they played against, except for like Kent State. But that's just a little hiccup at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
Stetson Bennett looked great. He came fourth in the Heisman voting? Yeah, he came fourth in the Heisman voting. Um, I think he should have been third, but to each his own. It doesn't really matter. If you don't win the Heisman, you just don't win it. But Yeah, Stetson Bennett has looked great, even though he's like 30 years old, as Will would say, and he's playing against kids. But yeah, Georgia's defense and offense has been clicking all year, and I don't see them losing to Ohio State, who's shown that they have problems in big games. So I'm gonna go Georgia on this one, Will.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Like, part of me wanted to say you go back to 2014, like I mentioned, when four-seeded Ohio State upset Alabama and went on to win the national championship that year. But this Ohio State team is different. They don't have Urban Meyer anymore. They have Ryan Day, like I said, started at third base, and yet he's rest of second. But I'm going to take Georgia too. I want to keep it plain and simple, just so we can kind of go through these next couple of games. Because
Yeah.
after we do our Fiesta Bowl game next, it's going to be kind of pick'ems, just
Yeah.
random games.
So
But
also before we go to the next one, Jackson Smith and Jigba won't be playing this game. He has declared for the draft, and even though he's been injured like most of the year and hadn't really done much, um, that I don't know, that could be a huge blow to Ohio State. I don't know, but
yeah, I thought you were going to say draft stock there for a second, and then you look at Jamar Chase. He sat out completely his entire last year, was still a top 5 pick, and he's one of the best receivers in the league now.
but that was different. That his last game was a national championship game that he won, and he really didn't have much else to prove to show that he was the best receiver in that draft class. He was
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
the best receiver on that team.
I was going to say you in his draft class he had a Heisman winning receiver, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, but he literally, well, that was COVID Heisman, man. That's the Mickey Mouse Heisman.
just like the Lakers have that Mickey Mouse ball we're in.
I'm gonna cut that out. I'm just joking.
Okay, before we make
Yeah,
it
before
worse
we
for each
start roasting
other.
each other and taking shots, let's go to the
um
next bowl.
yeah, our other playoff game is I think it's gonna be a little bit more contested. It's Big Ten champions, Michigan State taking on third ranked TCU, just coming off their first loss season in the Big 12 championship. Michigan is actually an 8-point favorite in Phoenix. Our boy JP's making the 13-hour trek from Fort Worth to the game.
He's flying. Whoa.
Oh, he's not driving anymore.
I'm pretty sure he's flying.
I don't blame him. That's my train of thought. Yeah, Max Duggan, the Heisman runner up. He looks good. But it's Michigan. Then it's Michigan. It's that Big Ten powerhouse. They haven't lost this year. They did lose Blake Corum, but his backup, whose name I'm blanking on right now, he's looking good. JJ McCarthy has proven to be the real starter that Michigan needed. Cade McMahon in the transfer portal. As much as this kind of kills me, because I've been riding with TCU all year. Oh, excuse me. I'm taking Michigan on this one. I think it's going to be a lot more closer than what we'll see in Ohio State, Georgia. I think Georgia's going to run the clock, run the board. But I think Michigan is going to come down to one or two possessions towards the end of the fourth quarter. So, JP, I'm sorry, I still love the Frogs, but at the end of the day, I think Michigan is just going to be too much for them.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Let's not forget that TCU has the Jim Thorpe Award winner on their side on defense. LaDainian Thomason's nephew. I can't remember his first name. Well, I'm pretty sure you probably know. Do you?
I'm blanking off the top of my head right now.
Yeah. So I wouldn't downplay this Michigan TCU game. I feel like it's going to be closer than most people think. But to be safe, this is the second time this year that I'm going to be picking against TCU. The first time I kind of regretted because it was against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma gets got donkey kicked by TCU that game. JP, I hope I'm still allowed in Fort Worth after this. I'm sorry, man. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go Michigan just because the only reason I'm picking Michigan is because me and Will have a bet, and I just really don't want to do this forfeit at all. So I'm gonna have to go with go with Michigan in this one, even though this game I feel like could go either way. This is probably
Yeah.
the only playoff game that I see that could go either way. All right.
We're just gonna do because, like we said, there's so many bowl games. We just picked four random ones that we think are gonna be good games.
Yeah. Other than the
Um,
New Year's Six one. So
we
I'm
we,
gonna
we
go.
left out we debated about leaving Arkansas in for
Yeah,
Bryce's
I
sake,
just
but
I just couldn't bring myself to pick for that game, honestly, just because I don't know because we've lost so many players to the portal and to the NFL draft. So
yeah,
yeah, so I think we're gonna have half the team that we started with in that one. So this next one is the Holiday Bowl between number 15 Oregon and unranked North Carolina, which probably one of the best quarterback prospects coming out next year in Drake May, North Carolina. Oregon is a 13.5 point favorite, and I'm gonna have to go with the Ducks, man. They have looked pretty good all year, except for towards the end. They lost some games that they shouldn't have lost. So I'm gonna go with the Ducks for this one. Let's see if your boy pick Nix. Your boy,
yeah,
yeah, Bo Nix can end his career off in a high note with against North Carolina, who doesn't really have a defense.
yeah. I'm gonna agree with you. Like North Carolina just didn't look good in the ACC championship against Clemson. Oregon did look good up until the end of the year. Like yes, they started the season getting blown out by Georgia, and they did drop games to a really good Washington team, who we'll talk about in a second, and then in-state rivals Oregon State by blowing that lead. But I still think Oregon's gonna recover. Bo Nix is it's his last college game, so I think he's just gonna ball out and just absolutely torch North Carolina's deep secondary. And so I'm taking the Ducks this one in San Diego.
Yeah, we'll go with this next one. It's close to home, literally for you.
Yeah, this one is the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. 20th ranked Texas taking on 12th ranked Washington. Texas is a 4.5 point favorite. I think, I mean, yes, Texas is a 4.5 point favorite, and they do still have Quinn Ewers for another year, Bijan Robinson and Xavier Worthy, and that other receiver I'm blanking on. They're still going to be there. So I am going to take Texas in this one. I think it will be somewhat competitive. Yes, because Washington, like I said, mentioned earlier, they're still they were good up until the end of the year with Michael Penix Jr. But regardless, I think Texas is going to be too much for them. They're going to play like they did against Bama, keeping it very competitive towards the end. So I'm taking Texas on this one.
What? You just threw up them horns? You know I can't pick Texas, man. And Michael Penix Jr. has just looked great all season. I'm gonna have to go with Washington. Tell your mom horns down, even though your mom went to Texas. So I'm gonna have to go with them Huskies up north, man. Let me go Washington. Honestly, this game I see being close, but I like Washington with their quarterback. I know Bijan Robertson has he even committed to this game?
I believe so. I haven't heard anything.
And if he doesn't play this game, that's going to be a huge loss for Texas. Um, B a lot of people are saying BJ Robinson has a similar type game as Saquon Barkley going into the draft next year or this year. So I feel like if he stays, Texas probably win this game. But I honestly don't think he will play this game just because he has a lot going on in the future with declaring for the draft. So I'm gonna go Washington just because Michael Penix Jr. has looked great all year, and I can see him taking over this game and winning. So our next bowl is the Gator Bowl between number 21 Notre Dame versus number 19 South Carolina. For some reason, I'm still not high on South Carolina. I know they've had great wins, a blowout win against Tennessee, and beating their rival in Clemson. Notre Dame has flipped the switch on the second half of the season, and I definitely see them winning, even though it is against an SEC opponent. And I rarely pick against SEC opponents, and when it comes to bowl matchups, unless they're like playing a team that's clearly going to beat them. So I'm gonna go Notre Dame. I think Marcus Freeman gets his first bowl win as a head coach, official head coach. So yeah, I'm gonna go Notre Dame on this one.
I was thinking about Notre Dame, but then you realize that Brent Pine entered the portal.
Shoot, you were right. I don't know. Maybe I have to switch it.
Um, and this is possibly the destination of DJ. I mean, you can still make your choice. We haven't moved on yet.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you till the end of until I say my pick to let you.
You know what? Dang, and it's Notre Dame's a 2.5 point favorite. They don't have the quarterback.
Yeah, playing in Jacksonville, so South Carolina has the better field advantage.
You know what? I'm gonna go South Carolina. Take the safe route.
And that's kind of the reason I'm taking Beamer ball in this one. I am going to take South Carolina.
Yeah.
Just because what we saw with Spencer Rattler do in the last few games, especially against Tennessee and Clemson, just basically ending their playoff hopes right then and there. So I think they're going to carry that momentum. Yes, they're a 19 seed and they're carrying that underdog mentality, just like what they did with Tennessee and with Clemson. Home field, they have a better home field advantage in North Florida as opposed to Notre Dame coming in from Indiana. But
There's
I'm
Notre
gonna take
Dame fans all over the country. That's one thing Notre Dame don't really like fly under the radar is their fan base. Their fan base is huge and is all over the country.
yeah, kind of like Dallas Cowboys. So, but moving on to this last bowl game we're gonna pick, and we kind of mentioned it earlier. It's the ReliaQuest Bowl, Mississippi 22 Mississippi State versus number 2 Illinois. This is gonna be a game played with heavy hearts because of Mike Leach. And we'd have Zach Barnett coming in take over. But here's what I think about Illinois, and that is they just lost their defensive coordinator Ryan Walters. He just took the Purdue job. So obviously, you just made your prediction. I think I can already get it, but I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go the same. I'm saying Mississippi State. Will Rogers is gonna ball out. They are without Ra Thomas, who just announced he's in the portal along with a bunch of other players. Like Dylan Johnson, who kind of infamously said announced his transfer in the portal by calling out Coach Leach, basically saying Coach Leach wanted
That I actually want to know how he feels about that. If he would take
he
that
did
back.
he did post a tweet later. I did read it the other day, we ended on poor terms, but I still consider you family for all you've done for me at Mississippi State. And so it's kind of yes, ended on bad terms and really can't say it to his face anymore, but he is going to be playing with that spread. And I think he is looking at Auburn right now as a transfer possibility. At least when I saw on his Twitter, he did get an offer from them.
I wonder.
Anyway, I am going to take Mississippi State in this one.
I wonder if Hugh Freeze looked at his ankles and see if he's worthy enough to play for him. I don't know if you've seen that video.
Yeah.
With Miss Wagner from Last Chance U when they were in Southeast, well not Southeast, when they were in what's it
East
called?
Mississippi.
Yeah, East Mississippi.
Hey, 30 minutes away from me.
Yeah. Hugh Freeze says when he recruits players, he looks at their ankles, and if they have small ankles, then they're athletic. He said it's never did them wrong, so who knows? But I'm gonna go. This is why I'm going Mississippi State. They just lost their coach. They have a lot to fight for this season. It's literally their coach's last season ever. He will ever coach again. So I feel like they will have a huge chip on their shoulder just because of that. They're going to try to win this bowl game for Mike Leach, and this whole when they win, I'm thinking positive thoughts and talking it into existence. When they win, I feel like they have a huge tribute for Mike Leach and probably I don't know, most likely retire him in the rafters and what's their stadium's called? I forgot.
Deuce Wade.
Yeah, Deuce Wade Stadium.
Yeah.
And
The service is going to be next weekend, and I don't know if you've seen this like flown around that like for the getting the college football Hall of Fame, you need to have a 60% like winning
yeah, I
record, and
did
he's
see that.
59.6. I
Yeah,
still think they should just like round that up for him.
yeah. Just because he didn't really, he wasn't able to, because he was still an active coach, so he wasn't able to finish out his coaching legacy, I guess you would say. So I feel like they
Yeah.
should round it up and to get him in, or have an honorable mention or something to get him in. So yeah, I'm gonna take Mississippi State, even though Illinois has looked good all year under Brett Bielema, and all his ex Arkansas assistants that he have up there in Illinois and Champaign. But yeah, that will conclude our bowl selection section of the podcast. We have two basketball games that we want to talk about that happened in between last episode and this episode. We have number 4 Alabama, who beat our home team Memphis by 3 points. This game was really good. Kendrick Davis is that guy, and he looks like he could possibly win Naismith Player of the Year. He's shown that why he was the number 1 transfer in the transfer portal going to Memphis, even though Memphis right now they have some stuff going on with for something that happened years ago. But yeah, honestly, if Memphis didn't have such a headache loss against what's it called? What was that
Uh,
first loss? St.
Seton Hall.
Louis, yeah, St. Louis and Seton Hall with that bullcrap heave, full court heave to a that caused them to lose. They will be ranked. I honestly think they could still sneak in the be ranked depending on how this weekend goes between the teams that are playing this weekend. But
Yeah.
I feel like Memphis will definitely be ranked by the end of the year and make it into the um, March Madness tournament.
Well, I think they're going to get in regardless. There's not really much competition in the ACC besides Houston. I mean, you can make a statement for like SMU or Cincinnati.
SMU
Um,
is trash. They lost to Jackson
um,
State.
Never mind.
My bad,
Um,
Will, but SMU is not good. But Cincinnati is good.
yeah, and both these teams have good games coming up this weekend. Bama is going to have a neutral site game in Birmingham against Gonzaga, and yes, Gonzaga is not as good as what they thought they would be, but it's still going to be a good game. And then you have Memphis taking on Texas A&M, their fourth, yeah, like something like their fourth SC game in 5 games. But just watching this as a fan of both teams, I didn't really pick a team. Like I just wore like a white shirt. I didn't really, root for Bama and Memphis. Kind of like if you knew me last year, then I went to the game at the Forum in a Bama hat, Memphis t-shirt, just kind of just sat there and quiet. But this Bama team is exciting. A lot of people were hyping up about it and saying like, yeah, this is the first time since 2006 where the basketball team is ranked higher than the football team, which kind of shows you what Nick Saban's done. But a lot of people are pointing towards Brandon Miller, and he's I've been saying like he's gonna be a top 10 pick, and I think he's making more of a statement each and every game.
Yeah. At first, I did laugh at you when you made that statement, but now I see what you were talking about. Yeah, Alabama is looking like the real deal. I can't wait till Arkansas and Alabama play. I feel like me and will have a pretty decent debate about that and see talking about who wins. So definitely can't wait for conference play, which is for
And then the
SEC.
month,
Yeah, SEC is what next week.
uh, 2 weeks. Bama's first SC game is the 28th against Mississippi State.
I know Arkansas' first SEC game is the 28th versus LSU. I think it's the 28th, but I know it's against LSU though. But we have our last game we're going to talk about for basketball. It will be number 16 UCLA blowing out Maryland 87-60. Maryland was number 20. Well, they still are number 20. They really like what happened. Literally, James Earl, where are you at? Because you need to make a video on that because Maryland, what happened?
Hey, free my boy James. He did nothing wrong.
No, let's not get into that. But UCLA has looked pretty up and down this year. They are number 16, so they have looked pretty decent. They've had pretty big wins. I feel like this is going to be a big win, quad one win when it comes to March Madness. And honestly, UCLA, I don't know how. I've probably watched like one or two games of theirs. I don't know how good they will be at the end of the season because they do have a pretty tough conference when it comes to the Pac-12. You have Arizona, US. Well, I don't know how good USC is this year. Arizona State has. I'm pretty sure they just.
I mean, you have Arizona, who's
Yeah,
been
but yeah, Arizona's perennial top 10 team and good team every year. Oregon usually has a pretty decent team. This year they hadn't really looked that good, but they have the talent to be good. And
yeah.
yeah, there's a I think the Pac-12 is pretty tough when it gets to conference play. But UCLA, I can see them being 2 or 1 when it comes to the end. Will.
I don't have anything else to say. I think we covered a lot. This is going to be the go on. Might as well just call it the season finale because we are going to take a little break.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of the country till 2023. We'll come back, review these games, and then we will break down all that's happening in college basketball. Plus, by the time we get this done, we'll have a national championship game set up.
Yeah, we should have an episode before the national championship game for our last pick.
It's the 9th. We'll have plenty of time.
Yeah, for our last pick of the season, and that pick will most likely could honestly pick who's going to do the forfeit when it comes to that. But
unless we somehow tie and we both pick the same champion.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Even though we have 2 games that's different on the pick.
And I have a 1-game lead.
No, we have 2. You got Clemson, Tennessee, and Washington, Texas.
Yeah, but I have a 1-game lead over you.
Yeah, you have a 1-game lead. So
yeah.
if I win out that one and we pick the same one, I could win. If I lose this one, or lose one of those, and we pick the same one, we will win basically. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, see y'all later. Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, and to you, Will, Happy Hanukkah, my guy. See y'all later.
See y'all in 2023. Deuces.